Okay, so we're going to get started by installing VirtualBox. What this is going to do is allow us to virtualize our Ubuntu virtual machine. So basically you're going to want to start by downloading VirtualBox and downloading Ubuntu using the links in the Moodle course. And so I double click on the installation and I get a standard installation here. Everything that it wants to install by default is fine. We can just kind of go through the normal association and proceed with the installation. It's just a warning letting us know that it may temporarily disconnect us from the network because it has to install some tunnel adapters. And so this is a pretty quick and painless install both on Microsoft Windows and Apple OS X. So on the Mac operating system and Windows, this should be platform independent. And in fact, you can actually create a virtual machine on Windows and also use it on a Macintosh. So now we just kind of wait for this progress bar to finish up. If you have user access control turned on, it may pop up and just ask you if it's okay to continue with the installation, at which point you can click yes or okay. And at one point in the installation, you're going to have a Windows security warning, just letting you know that you're going to be installing some device software. It's basically the virtualization of a USB, so you can plug a USB drive in and have it available on the virtual machine that you install. And it put an icon here on the desktop for us. Once this finishes up here, we can actually just say start. Now remember, we want to have downloaded this Ubuntu environment. I'm using 14.04, the latest version. It's the desktop version. I'm using a 64-bit version because my computer is 64-bit. If you do not have a 64-bit computer, you may need the 32-bit version. Now I just upgraded my installation of Oracle, of Oracle VirtualBox, so you'll see that I have several other hosts in here. We can ignore these. You're going to want to click New to kind of create your new virtual machine, and you're going to have an option here. You can name this whatever. You can name it, I think I'm just going to name it by the operating system, and as you notice, as I'm typing, it kind of already populates the environment. If it doesn't, if you choose a different name other than Ubuntu, you can drop down this and choose Type Linux, and you can actually choose your specific version here. So we're going to click Next. It's going to try to allocate the best memory size for us here. At least 512 megabytes are pretty good. I'm probably going to change mine to 2048 because I have actually 16 gigs of memory, so I have plenty to allocate to the Ubuntu environment. And I'm going to click Next. It's fine to add an 8 gigabyte virtual drive. They recommend that, so I'm just going to go ahead and allow that recommendation. It also gives you the option of how you want to save your VirtualBox disk image. Now it all depends on the compatibility. I would stick with just VirtualBox disk image if you don't plan on using any other system. If for whatever reason you know what QEMU is, or you have a license for Parallels and you want to use those, go ahead. VHD for like Microsoft Virtual Machine, VMDK for VMware. I would just leave this VDI. In my case, I do tend to use VMware, and I plan to use it, so I'm just going to go, because I have a license for it, so I'm going to use this. But most people should just kind of stick with the VirtualBox disk image. It's not going to really change anything. And I actually recommend using dynamically allocated versus fixed size. If for whatever reason you want to make a fixed size hard drive, you can say fixed size hard drive. I'm going to leave this be. Now I can also choose to split the hard drive into several files of up to 2 gigabytes each. This is if I want to store it on a removable device. I'm actually going to do that. I want to store mine on a removable hard disk, so I'm going to split my files into keep it kind of less than 2 gigabytes. This makes it easier for moving around and portable hard drives and portable devices. If you're just going to store this on your main computer's hard drive, you don't need to leave this checked. By checking this, you're going to kind of take some performance. The VirtualBox is going to take a performance hit, but in my case, I do want to store it. So now I can choose what kind of size I want my disk to be. 8's pretty good. I've got quite a bit of room on my hard disk, so I think I'm probably going to go with something like 30 gigs. I think that's a good number. So that should have done it for me here. And now you'll see that I just have this new virtual machine in a powered off state. You can kind of look through some of the installation parameters here if you're interested. Now we're going to want to start this virtual machine, and what happens here is it's going to pop up and ask you for your startup disk, because right now there's no operating system on it. So you're going to want to choose what your startup disk is. Now you can choose an existing disk if for whatever reason you've already burned a disk for Ubuntu, or instead of choosing one of these, you can click this option here and you can tell it what you want to use. I'm going to use an ISO, because that's what I downloaded from Ubuntu. So if I go to ISO and I go to desktop, I can find my Ubuntu ISO right here, click open, and I'm going to go ahead and start. And when I click start, you're going to see the VirtualBox window open up, and it's going to start booting off of that Ubuntu virtual disk, this ISO here, as if I put the Ubuntu CD, a physical CD that I burned, into a system and told it to start from that. So if you're not using VirtualBox to install Ubuntu, you're going to have these same exact screens. This is just letting me know that this guest OS supports pointer integration and other items. That's fine. You can read about that on the VirtualBox page. It basically means it can capture my mouse movements, and then to escape from this box, I don't have to press a special key. Alright, so I'm going to make my window here a little bit bigger because the resolution by default on the installation is a little bit bigger. And basically, Ubuntu provides a disk that has a live environment, which means I can boot right from this CD and try out Ubuntu, or I can go right to the installation. Of course, I'm going to go right to the installation because I'm in a virtual machine here and I want to try out Ubuntu. That's why I started this virtual machine. I have a 30 gigabyte drive as I expected. I'm connected to the internet. I can even download updates, and what will happen is Ubuntu will download all the updates as I'm installing, and then if I want, I can install some various third-party software. And in this course we're going to go over what it means to be third-party software. I'm going to go ahead and click that, and I'm going to click continue. Now here comes something that's important. If I was installing on a box that I wanted to use Windows with, Ubuntu would find at this point that there's a Windows installation and would give me a choice if I want to install it alongside Windows, and I would even have a slider of how much disk allocation that I wanted to give to Windows versus Ubuntu. In my case, we created a virtual disk, so I'm going to just leave it as erase the entire disk. If I was doing private, banking things, or I had a mobile computer and I wanted to encrypt my installation, I could click this, or I could, partition it myself. I'm going to go ahead and let the defaults happen because we just kind of want to get up and running, and we can do a lot of the more in-depth configuration after we get it installed. It's going to auto-detect where I am, and then it's just going to ask me for a language, which is also going to auto-detect, and then basically you can create your account. Computer's name, you can leave it whatever you want. It knew it was already in VirtualBox. This is my username. It's going to ask you for a password. Hopefully you have a good or a strong password. Actually, let me change this to a different password that I use more frequently, because we don't want it to be good, we want it to be strong. I'm going to require it to log in. Now, if you didn't choose that you wanted to encrypt your entire installation, you can encrypt just your home folder, which is like your documents and things. because this is a demo, I'm not going to encrypt it. There can be a slight performance hit, especially in a virtual machine. If you choose to encrypt your home directory, I'm not going to do that now, but it's a good idea for mobile computers or people who just kind of want that added security. So I'm going to let this go. After it's finished copying all the files, it's going to connect to the internet and retrieve files during the installation process. Scan local repositories, get updates. I just saw it saying it was getting security updates, and it's just going to kind of go through this process while it's installing the system, and you'll watch the progress as it goes. Alright, and then you'll know that the installation is done when you have a message saying that it's done, and you can restart. That's going to restart the virtual machine and boot into Ubuntu for the first time. So you'll see that the machine restarted. And so when you see the message that says, please remove installation media, close the tray, press enter, you can press enter, it's in that blue text, and it will actually let you boot into your system. You'll see the Ubuntu logo and some loading dots, and you'll see your default user and the login screen. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and you can hear the little Ubuntu sounds. I'm going to type in the password that I created, and this will be the first time I'm booting into the system. And okay, so it started up, and I've got this the Unity bar here. But the first thing I'm going to probably want to do, because this is quite a small resolution, is go to the Settings app here, which is defaulting to that to the Unity bar. And in here I'm going to want to go to Displays, and this is where I'm going to want to change my resolution. I'm not going to want to have 640 by 480. So, in order to get this to display properly and work with our hardware, we need to install what's called guest editions for VirtualBox. There's a way we can do this on the command prompt with the package manager, but what's nice about VirtualBox is it gives you, under the devices menu, this insert guest edition CD image. So, once we click the devices and insert guest edition CD, you're going to get an option to open this VirtualBox editions would you like to run it. I'm going to say go ahead and run. It's going to automatically run an SH script that allows us to basically install guest editions, and that's going to give us the ability to change our resolution as well as some other hardware interfacing that goes on. And it's just about finished, and there it goes. It just says I can press return to close the windows. You'll see some of the different modules it installs: the guest editions, the shared folders, which allows us to share a folder between our Windows system or Mac if you're on a Mac, and the VirtualBox, which is Ubuntu here. OpenGL gives you some 3D video support internally here. This is the Windows system drivers, the Xorg server that lets you do certain things with X Windows. So the Windows system's now set up to use guest editions, so we're good. So we close that. We'll have to restart the actual system to allow us to do that. So since I already have a terminal open, I'm just going to do the shutdown command there. You can click the menu and shut down that way. And so now that it's rebooted, you'll already notice that my resolution is much bigger. And when I log in, let's see what happens here. Alright, and we're in. And as you kind of notice, I kind of dragged the screen there. The resolution is dynamic now. So I just drag the screen and my resolution adjusted. If I drag it up and over and I give it a second to reinitialize itself, you'll notice that the resolution is dynamic in the sense that it's going to grow to the settings that I push it. So a lot of times you're going to want to hit the full screen there and just kind of use the virtual machine within this full window here. So now you kind of have easier access to all the utilities of Ubuntu. At this point in time, to kind of show that you've done the installation for the first week, you can take a screenshot of this to let me know that you've done it. And to take a screenshot, you just press the print screen button, which I just did right now, the print screen button on my keyboard, and it kind of gives me an option to save. And I can save it wherever I want. On my Ubuntu system, I'll save it right on my desktop, and there it is. So just so I know what version of Ubuntu everybody's, or what version of Linux in general everybody's using, this will work in Fedora. In fact, it should work on any system that has GNOME installed, because by default most of the modern systems with GNOME will install that screenshot application. Let's run a uname-a, and so if you just open up your window here and type in terminal to get a terminal open, in the terminal after you've opened it, type uname-a space -a, and that's basically going to give you a printout of the kind of the system that you're working with, and the kernel and everything. And so at this point in time, you can press the screenshot button. What it's going to do is give you a screenshot with that terminal open. Again, I'll save that to my desktop, and then you can actually log into Moodle right from here to submit that assignment, or if you set up shared folders, you can do it that way, or you can email this to yourself if you're on a computer that's a little slower than usual. You can do it that way, but you could do it right from here if you'd like, and go through the normal steps. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.